7. Jack Can. A shocking campaign of violence that was captured on camera in December 2016 began when a jobless 22-year-old British man named Jack Can showed up at his ex-girlfriend Ashley Earle's house at 2 a.m. When Earle went outside to confront Can, he began yelling at her and accusing her of being with other men. Dashcam footage showed Can backing his car into Earle and forcing her into the vehicle. He then drove into the woods where he beat the 25-year-old with a log. The ordeal lasted for more than 2 hours before Ashley escaped. Despite her injuries, she managed to run over a mile to safety. Videos from her cell phone and from the dashcam helped to solidify a criminal case against Can in court. He was convicted of inflicting grievous bodily harm, making threats to kill, dangerous driving, and driving with a suspended license. Following the guilty ruling, Ashley told the press that it was tough for her to watch the footage, but that she was glad it existed since it was imperative in proving Can's guilt. She urged other women to have cameras installed on their vehicles to help ensure that abusive thugs are held accountable for their actions. 6. Blake Linkus. An 18-year-old Ohio woman named Natalie Martin was vacationing with friends in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina in 2023 when her ex-boyfriend Blake Linkus allegedly strangled her to death. The young woman was staying in a rental house with her travel companions, who were unaware that anything was wrong until Blake emerged from Natalie's room one morning. He was suffering from a self-inflicted stab wound to the chest and said that Natalie's not waking up. Realizing that something was very wrong, 2 of Natalie's friends rushed into the room and attempted to perform CPR. But her body was cold and stiff, and they quickly realized that she had been dead for hours. According to police documents, Natalie had been arguing with Blake the previous day over accusations that she was texting another man. And when the group of young travelers went out that evening, Natalie decided she wasn't feeling well and returned to the room early with Blake. Later on, 2 other group members had to enter the house through a back door because nobody answered when they knocked on the front door. They heard loud thuds coming from somewhere inside the house and tried to check on Natalie, but her door was locked. None of the other vacationers saw Natalie or Blake when they returned to the house throughout the night. The couple's 3-year relationship had a troubled history. Just months earlier, they'd broken up after Blake allegedly assaulted Natalie in front of a group of friends. Natalie's friend, Brooklyn Farrell, told Fox News that Blake had thrown Natalie across the room. He apologized profusely afterward and tried to win her back, but she was unwilling to fully recommit to the relationship. Blake Linkus is now facing a murder charge. He was granted a $150,000 bond due to his lack of a criminal history and was released pending the outcome of the case. For now, though, he's required to wear an electric ankle monitor and is banned from having any contact with Natalie's family. 5. Amber Andrews. After his father's death in 2005, Brandon Duran moved from San Diego to Las Vegas and began hanging out with members of the Bandidos motorcycle club. It made him feel closer to his dad, who was an avid biker. In 2006, he met and fell in love with a 24-year-old tattoo artist named Amber Andrews. They married just 2 months later, and they had a son together that same year. Brandon enjoyed the settled-down lifestyle, but Amber preferred to continue partying and living like she did before she got married and became a parent. After 4 years of marriage, the couple divorced, and Brandon moved back to California while Amber returned to her hometown of Mecca, Oklahoma. A year later, Amber showed up in San Diego out of the blue and told Brandon that she wanted to fix their relationship. He agreed to give things another shot, and they traveled to Oklahoma together. They were only supposed to be gone for a week, but Brandon never returned. Shortly after his disappearance, a man named Van Emblom told authorities that his childhood friend, Justin Hammer, had asked him to help dispose of Brandon's dismembered remains. He thought it was a joke, but was horrified when he arrived at the property and saw large buckets filled with blood and cement. As it turned out, Justin Hammer was Amber's new boyfriend. Brandon didn't know about him, and the couple had co-conspired to lure Brandon to Oklahoma, where Hammer shot him. The buckets containing Brandon's remains were found in a pond on Hammer's property. Hammer claimed that he killed Brandon in self-defense, but the court was unconvinced. He was convicted of first-degree murder and was sentenced to life without parole. Ashley also maintained her innocence, but was found guilty of the same charge and received the same sentence. 4. Robert Propp. Melissa Thornton and the father of her child Robert Propp had a volatile relationship. They ultimately broke up due to Propp's drug and money problems, and because he allegedly abused Melissa. But the pair didn't completely disentangle from one another. In fact, they continued to see each other off and on. According to a relative, Melissa continued hooking up with Propp because he threatened to interfere with their custody arrangement in family court if she refused to indulge his demands. The toxic situation took a deadly turn in July of 2016 when Propp dialed 911 and claimed that he'd found Melissa unresponsive in bed. At that point, though, she'd been dead for hours. Propp eventually admitted that he had killed Melissa, but he claimed it was an accident. He first said that he fell on his ex-girlfriend during an argument and unintentionally landed on her neck. But in another version of the story, he said he accidentally asphyxiated her during an erotic bedroom game. After realizing that Melissa was unconscious, Propp left the apartment. He then returned hours later and placed the 911 call. Melissa's loved ones claimed that Propp had continued to act controlling and obsessive even after the couple broke up. They recalled one occasion when Propp had repeatedly driven past a bar where Melissa was drinking with her sisters, and another time when he called her non-stop during a girls' night out. Propp also allegedly threw Melissa's phone out into the road more than once and threw fits when he thought her outfits were too revealing. A jury convicted Propp of first-degree murder, and he was sentenced to life without parole. He challenged his conviction and won a new hearing, but the original ruling was upheld and he remains behind bars. 3. Todd Winkler. One morning in February 2012, 44-year-old Todd Winkler showed up at his neighbor's house in Cameron Park, California, and asked them to call 911. He said that he'd been involved in a deadly dispute with his wife, 37-year-old Rachel Winkler. Responding officers could immediately tell that Rachel had been dead for several hours. She was covered in stab wounds and defensive wounds, and there was blood everywhere. There was also a pair of scissors near her body. Investigators soon learned that Rachel had been having an affair for over a year with a man named James White, and Todd knew about it. Todd told police that he'd gone over to Rachel's house that morning to talk about the possibility of fixing their marriage. He claimed that she threatened to have her illicit lover hurt him if he tried to get her parental rights to their children taken away. According to Todd's version of events, Rachel attacked him with a pair of scissors. He wrestled the scissors out of her hands and stabbed her several times in self-defense, then fled from the home. Todd further claimed that he returned to the home later on out of a concern that Rachel would hurt other family members who were living there at the time. There was another struggle, which he later described as a kill or be killed type of situation. People who knew Rachel described her as a doting mother who'd never hurt her family, making it hard for detectives to believe Todd's account of the deadly encounter. Investigators observed signs that he might have tried to clean the crime scene, and they were especially suspicious about the fact that he waited 6 hours to call for help. Upon taking a closer look at Todd's hands, they also noticed that his injuries appeared superficial and didn't reflect the type of wounds they'd expect to see on someone who'd fought for their life. Rachel's boyfriend, James White, was genuinely in love with Rachel and wanted to pursue a future with her. The night before her murder, he had helped her with some divorce papers that she planned to file after deciding that she was truly done with her marriage to Todd. White shared incriminating details about Todd that Rachel had told him, including that he'd allegedly tried convincing his wife to fake a car accident for an insurance payout. But in a chilling twist, Rachel had discovered the cremated ashes of Todd's first wife, Kathy Winkler, under their bed. Todd told her that the woman had died in a car crash in 1999 when they were living in White County, Georgia. According to records, her truck drove off an embankment and landed in a wooded area where it burst into flames. Todd was in the vehicle at the time, but escaped with only minor injuries because he was sitting in the back. Instead of dialing 911 himself, he tracked down some strangers and asked them to seek help. His behavior became even more strange when he claimed that he was riding in the back of the truck because he was having an allergic reaction to an insect bite. He said that he and Kathy were on their way to a hospital and that he'd been struggling to breathe during the drive, yet he was breathing just fine after escaping from a burning car. Due to a lack of evidence, Todd was never prosecuted for Kathy's death, which yielded him a $1.2 million life insurance payout. But detectives in California reached out to law enforcement in Georgia and were shocked to learn that investigators had long suspected him of killing Kathy. In fact, authorities in Georgia weren't one bit surprised to learn that Todd was now being accused of murdering his second wife. This time, there was enough evidence to prosecute, and after deliberating for just an hour, a jury found Todd guilty of Rachel's murder. As a consequence, he was sentenced to 26 years to life in prison. 2. Lisa Wenby. Rob Wenby met his future wife Lisa at a red light in Knoxville, Tennessee in 1979. They married 3 years later and went on to have 2 children during the 1980s. The pair were inseparable at first, but they eventually began to drift apart. And by 1994, Lisa was cheating on Rob with a married man from her church named Michael Frazier, and they didn't do a very good job at hiding it. Rob and a lot of other people suspected the two of having an affair, but they denied it even after it became obvious. In what could be likened to a scene from a horror movie, Rob awoke one summer night to the smell of cigarette smoke and the bedroom blinds open. A masked figure was also standing in front of him. But before Rob could fully process what was going on, the intruder began stabbing him. As Rob fought for his life, Lisa appeared in the bedroom with a baseball bat. He initially thought his wife had come to his rescue and yelled for help, but she stood frozen as the attack continued. Rob shoved the masked suspect across the room and ran for his life. And by the time he made it to a neighbor's house, he'd caught a glimpse of his attacker and realized it was Frazier, which also told him that Lisa was involved. He suspected that the pair had plotted to kill him, to not only remove him from the picture, but to collect on a life insurance policy. Lisa and Michael were found guilty of attempting to kill Rob, and both served prison time for it. And in the meantime, Rob has moved on with his life. 1. John Grazioli. A 31-year-old school teacher from Altoona, Pennsylvania, named Amanda Elizabeth Schmidt, was sleeping one morning in early 2018 when her husband of 6 months shot her in the back of the head. After killing his wife, 44-year-old investment broker John Grazioli wrote a note apologizing for killing Amanda, then went out to lunch and to church where he confessed to a priest about what had happened. He also allegedly told his ex-wife about the suspicious tragedy after previously telling her that he was considering divorcing Amanda. John told police that he'd bought Amanda a handgun for her birthday and that it accidentally went off when he was showing her how to use it. But the story didn't fly with prosecutors who suspected that there were more sinister factors at play. Authorities accused Grazioli of systematically plotting to remove Amanda from his life, although they never established a clear motive. Grazioli's defense attorney didn't dispute that his client killed Amanda, but he argued that Grazioli didn't mean to shoot his wife and that he didn't act with malice. Unswayed by these claims of a tragic accident, the jury found the defendant guilty of first-degree murder, and Grazioli was sentenced to life in prison. At his sentencing hearing, the judge overseeing the case gave him one last chance to come clean and admit why he killed Amanda. But he maintained his innocence and continues to do so from behind bars as he fights to clear his name. An appeals court upheld the guilty verdict and sentence, but in September 2023, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled in favor of giving Grazioli another opportunity to appeal his case. He's since hired a new lawyer who's arguing that Grazioli deserves a new trial based on ineffective past counsel. The case is ongoing, though, so we'll have to wait and see how things play out. Have you ever gone from thinking highly of someone to despising them based on a single thing that they said or did? Tell us about it in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.